Robert, in terms of trying to defend mobile quarterbacks, what's the coaching point in a situation like Deion Jordan when Carson scored that touchdown last week? And obviously that he's not the only defensive end that's happened to, but what do you tell those guys, and what's the key for them in those situations?
So there's different ways you can approach a mobile quarterback when you're talking about just designed run plays. When we played Kyler Murray, we played what you can call a surf technique. We've also played them where we take the end and have them dive take the dive. So we have multiple ways that we play it. In that first week, I think we limited Kyler to a couple of carries on those zone reads for minimal yardage. And then when you get to teams like Daniel Jones and we'll use Carson, you can still play it two ways. You can have the end take it as a base rule, or you can and then the linebacker would scrape off the outside, or you can surf it, or you can send the guy right up to the quarterback. So there's different ways you can play it. And so just without getting into too much detail on what the actual design of that play was, there's just multiple ways that you can play a quarterback, and clearly there was a miscommunication on it.
Along those lines, Ryan Fitzpatrick is 37 years old, doesn't have a huge reputation as a running quarterback, but he did lead the team in rushing, his own team in rushing last year. Is that something that we have to be cognizant of this week, that he could sort of get out and do some damage with his legs?
So we're always mindful and respectful to the quarterback. A lot of his rushes come from scrambles, so they're designed pass plays, D-line getting after it, and so you always have to be cognizant and mindful of the level of the quarterback and making sure that we're taking care of. You got 4 rushers on 5 linemen, and there's 5 available gaps, so there's, they've just got to be mindful on when one is looping, the other one's 2-gapping, and it's just really 4 guys working together to keep the quarterback in the pocket. And if a quarterback starts going backwards and makes it a point to start scrambling, then we just got to run them down and make sure that we do a good job in the back end plastering. But with Fitzpatrick, he is a lot more nimble than people realize. He'll tuck it down. I mean, he had a QB draw I think last week for an 11-yarder for a touchdown. So we are aware of his running ability, and which is no different than any other team. We just got to make sure that we're doing a great job communicating and being mindful of his ability.
Robert, after Solomon went out with Kinlaw, have you found yourself having to ask more of him in terms of snaps or responsibilities? And how have you seen him grow over the first 4 weeks?
I don't know if we've had to really ask Kinlaw to do more. I think he's just earning it, to be honest with you. When you watch him play, he's getting better every single week. He's going to be a dynamic football player in this league as soon as he starts really understanding the techniques and fundamentals and starts picking up on the NFL game and the way it's played. He does things that are instinctively freakish that you just can't teach. And the more he sees it, the more reps he gets, the better he's going to be. And he's just got a good knack for football. And as soon as he gets into a groove and he really starts to understand this game, he's going to take off, and it's going to be very, very disruptive. So we love the direction he's going in. We love his mindset, his work ethic, his attention to detail, and so as the season progresses, he's going to earn whatever. Just like every other player on this team, you're going to earn your playing time is what you've earned, and he's doing a really nice job so far this year.
Robert, in the past, you've had issues with guys trying to do their own thing and make a play, kind of a lack of discipline. Has that been an issue at all going forward this year, or is it just something you always emphasize?
You know what? It's twofold. We have our rules ball where we want guys to make sure they understand their rules. But when you get a guy like K1 Williams or Quan Alexander or Fred, or you've got guys who are, and we got a lot of them on defense. Not to skip anyone, but when you have guys who just know something's happening, they know the play, and their rule tells them one thing, but they just know something's happening. We encourage them to take their shot, and whether or not they're right all the time, not to say that they're 100%, but you never want to make these guys robots. they have rules. They're very comfortable with their rules. They know their rules, but we also, with all the film study and all the cut-ups and all the work that they put in, we do encourage that if they do see a play, if they do see something happening, they go play the play. And to expect them to be 100% is probably would probably be asking a lot of them. But they understand if they take a shot and they miss, they take ownership to it. But at the same time, when they do take a shot, like Fred on the interception at the Giants game, he knew the play. If you actually watch his technique, that's not the way we teach it, but he knew the play. He hung inside, he baited the quarterback, and he took it. I mean, that's Fred. He's from film study, and so you want guys, you encourage guys to play football out there, but understand what your rules are. Speaking of that play, if he would have just played normal ball and took his zone drop, quarterback never would have thrown it there because he would have been in position to begin with, and he would have went somewhere else with the ball, and maybe the drive's still continuing. So. Kudos to him, kudos to Tart on the communication, pre-snap, and all of it. And so, but that's, so from a discipline standpoint, I think we're one of the more disciplined football teams and defenses in football. And for those guys, when something does get blown up or something does miss, it's not from a lack of discipline more than, they felt like they had a play, they had a beat on something, they took their shot, and they just missed. So, hopefully that makes sense.
Hey, Robert, you have talked in the past about you had to be, the 49ers had to be very patient, the first 2 years, not waiting to get your edge rushers. And obviously that happened last year. I guess, this happens in the NFL, but I guess there's a level of disappointment, frustration, for, that to be kind of bare right now.
The frustration for me is really for Bosa and Ford and Ziggy Ansah and the guys who've worked so hard to put themselves in position to have a successful 2020, and now it's cut short for them. Saleh, who does both. Does that mean that we don't have faith in Deion Jordan and when Ronnie gets back and Kerry Hyder and now Alex Barrett? Absolutely not. I do think that they'll come in, they'll continue to play to the standard that we expect, and you still have Eric on the defensive line, and you got a young man in Javon Kinlaw that's getting better every day. So the expectation for that group doesn't change. I think they're so much further along on the front and in the back end with understanding what we're trying to get done on a play-in and play-out basis. And so I don't think we're anywhere near that 2018 team. I think we're so much more we're capable of so much more, and I'm excited to see these guys prove each other right because they know what they're capable of, and they've just got to go out and do it every single day.
Hey, Robert, what does your defense miss with Dre Greenlaw out, and what will he bring to the defense when he comes back?
Oh, man. Greenlaw, we all love Greenlaw. Athletic. He's dynamic in the sense that he covers a lot of space, both run game and pass game. A really good man coverage. He's very, very reliable, and as he gets his legs back underneath him, anytime you can add a starting caliber player, a player of his caliber back to the defense or on the football field, you're only going to get better. And so, when we had him, Quan, and Fred rolling, we were really dynamic in that back end or at that linebacker spot, and having Aziz step up the way he did over the last few weeks. I don't want to take anything away from him because I thought he's gotten much, much improved from a year ago. And now for Greenlaw, it's just an opportunity for him to get on the field, get his legs back underneath him, and know that we feel like we got four really, really, really good linebackers. And that's not to take away from the other guys, Flan and Joe Walker, and then Zach, who we plan to get back. So really love that linebacker group and the depth that they've shown over the start of the season.
Robert, you guys have had a pretty normal amount of penalties, but it seems like a disproportionate about half of those have been for first downs or just at bad times. I guess two parts. How do you cut down on those penalties just at ill-timed periods in the game? And do you sense that the league is sort of cracking down on defensive holding?
We're playing an aggressive style of football. When you play in your zones and you're watching the quarterback and you're playing that style of game, you're going to play you're not going to get those little contact penalties, the holding penalties, but when you're up there and you're playing aggressive, a little bit more aggressive, which we have been these last 4 weeks, you're probably going to get some penalties. But always for our guys is understanding that we win with our feet and understand after 5 yards you can't touch guys anymore. And so for our guys, it has been, a lot of the 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4 range where we're trying to get hands on people and play tight coverage to get off the field. Some things pop up, but for us, it's really just overemphasizing the fact that when you are in man coverage or you are running a pressure, or even if we're in a matchup zone or whatever it might be, we've got to do a great job of playing with our feet, playing with great eye discipline, and not getting grabby. If we win with our feet, we'll be in good position to reroute within the 5-yard limit and be able to play fast and play good football. So,
do 2 more for Coach.
Robert, when you look at Eric Armstead and the season he's having thus far and really continuing over from last year, can you just talk a little bit about how you've seen him grow since you first got here?
Man, I can't say enough about Eric. Our first year here, he got hurt, and he was starting to come on strong our first year, and he got hurt, I believe, the Washington Redskins game. And then last year, or the second year, he was still trying to work through with what we were trying to ask of him. And I'll give a ton of credit to Chris Kasarik and the defensive line coach, and Chris Kiffin, who's not at Cleveland, really helping him understanding what his style, what his identity is as a defensive lineman, and really getting him locked into a technique that he believed in. And for Eric, he's such a smart individual, and he plays so violent, but he's one of the few people who can play with finesse too. And he's been able to balance all 3 of those aspects of his game, and he's turned into a wrecking ball in there. And so I'm just so pumped for him that he continues to get better, and he's going to be a lasting figure in this league at the rate he's going. He's awesome. So, and his leadership skills, all of it, he's been fantastic.
Hey, Robert, is all of the increase in blitzing this year a byproduct of trying to generate more pressure without Nick and D, or was that something that you were thinking about this offseason, trying to get some more blitzes in?
I don't know. I've got I usually do a self scout here every 4 weeks. That's what I work on Thursday nights. But I feel like our 3rd down package was blitz heavy a year ago. When you look at it, maybe didn't blitz as much on 1st and 2nd down, but it's not necessarily to make up for a lack of anything. Because you still see when we are a 4-man rush, I think our front's doing a really nice job getting to the quarterback and collapsing the pocket and making him uncomfortable in there. But if there has been an uptick in pressure, I won't say why, but it's been more, just trying to evolve the system a little bit more and trying to make sure that we do a good job staying ahead of the curve and keeping offensive coordinators off balance.
Hey, Faithful, don't forget to click here to subscribe to our YouTube.